Hey, welcome back to another weekly edit. This week I'm going to be editing one of my images in Pixelmator Pro. You can see open on the screen. It is a fairly new editor on the market. It's Mac only. Sorry, Windows users. It is a little bit different than Adobe Photoshop, DxO Photolab RAW, DxO Photolab RAW, DxO Photolab, or On1 Photo RAW, sorry. In that it is more a pixel-based editor, like Photoshop, or pixel manipulator like Photoshop. So it doesn't have a catalog or a database. You open an image one by one and you edit them like that. So for bulk editing, it's maybe not the best option. But I quite enjoy using it because it's so integrated with the Apple ecosystem. It runs natively, and it's just really quick, responsive, and it just brings a bit more of a modern look and feel to image editing that I think programs like Lightroom and DxO and I think On1 does a pretty good job, but even so, I think they can learn a bit from this. But the big pluses for me about Pixelmator is it's a layer-based workflow, so you can combine different layers, you can manipulate pixels like you do in Photoshop, so a bit more like retouching and adding elements to a photo, taking elements away, etc. Versus more of an image catalog or database photo editing solution, like for bulk editing, like Lightroom or On1 Photo RAW or DxO. Yeah, so that is pretty much that. I'm going to be editing one of my images shot in Corfu, Greece, where we were on holiday last year. It was shot with my Panasonic bridge camera, the FZ1002. Great camera if you're going to travel with family and you want a versatile focal length range. It goes from 24 to 400 millimeters, f2.8 to f4, I think. So you just throw one camera in the bag, off you go. Yeah, so let's get into the edit and we'll take it from there. Oops. Okay, as you can see, I've got the image open here in Pixelmator Pro. I'm currently in the photography workspace, but if you go up to Window, you can go to Workspace, and then you have the default layout where it just has the tools listed out on the right hand side here. Again, I'm going to try and keep it as brief as possible. And so I like to go to the photography workspace. So Window, I think it's just out of view. So you go to Window in the upper menu, Workspace layout, and photography. All that basically does is it arranges the tools that you would most likely or normally use along the top here, with the adjustments down on the right hand side, a bit like you have in Lightroom. Speaking of Lightroom, let's quickly head over there so I can explain to you the editing or my editing process or thinking in Pixelmator. Or I think a lot of us use Lightroom as a benchmark when we use or consider to use other editors, photo editors. So I'm going to quickly switch to Lightroom. This is the original edit I did in Lightroom last year. Now when we look at Lightroom, down the right hand side here, you have in the develop module or develop workspace, you have your basic panel or module with adjustments like exposure, contrast, highlights, shadows, text, blah blah blah, etc. You have the tone curve, color mixer, where you can manipulate individual colors, and color grading, highlights, shadows, midtones. You have your detail, sharpening and noise reduction, lens corrections, transform, so on top of crop transform if you're doing anything like perspective correction, architectural building photography, lens blur, I don't really use that at the moment. Effects, like adding grain and vignetting, and then calibration. So switching back quickly, if we take them top to bottom. So the basic panel, all your standard adjustments that you would want to make to a raw file or raw image file. In Pixelmator, you have that on the right hand side here. You can activate and deactivate individual modules. So let's just let me exactly deactivate all of them. So none of them active. So like in Lightroom, we want to do a white balance. So let's activate that. Back to Lightroom, exposure, contrast, highlight, shadows, blah, blah, blah. So activate the basics module, exposure, highlight, shadows, brightness, which actually I find quite a nice addition that Lightroom doesn't have. Contrast, black point, texture, clarity, etc. Tone curve. Sorry, I might be going a bit quick there. If we look at the modules down the right hand side here, curves, there we go. So let's open that up. Color mixer, a little bit different in Pixelmator. You have selective color. So if we activate that, here you can see you can select the different color ranges and adjust their hue, saturation, and brightness. So here in Lightroom, you would also have hue for each color, saturation, and luminance, or I like just to keep it on all. Moving on, sorry, in Lightroom, color grading would be color balance in Pixelmator. So there you have it. You can do all together, or you can switch to each different area. And then, hey, where did that go? Shadows, yeah, okay. So you can do brightness. It's quite a nice little trick actually to adjust exposure levels for those three different areas, highlight, shadows, and midtones, without affecting it too much. And then you can adjust the colors in those areas, which is actually also very, very nice. So go back to three-way color or master. Master would be for the whole photo. Anyway, back to three-way color. Detail would be sharpening, noise reduction. That we have further down. Sharpen. And noise reduction was, I don't think it has noise reduction, does it? I should have checked that before. Damn. Let me quickly check that for you. Replace, remove, color fade. I think it does have, might be in the menu. Quickly check. Stylized noise. Format, stylized, styles. Denoise. It's got a denoise. It's in the menu. There we go. So it has noise reduction. We'll do that in a little bit. Lens corrections. So Pixelmator, because it runs natively on the Apple system, it doesn't have a lens correction module. It relies on Apple's RAW engine for built-in automatic lens correction when you open the RAW file, if Apple's RAW engine supports it, which is my understanding. Apple does not publish which lenses and cameras they support, so that might be a deal breaker for a lot of people, but yeah, anyway, be that as it may. Transform, we have, would be under the crop module up here. Click on that so you can crop, and then you can also do perspective correction, as you can see there. Lens blur doesn't have something like that, or it might. I'm not going to worry about that. Adding things like vignette and grain. Go back to the color adjustments quickly. Grain we have there, and vignette we have there. There's also, no, let's reset that quickly to 0. We can adjust that a bit later. Okay. Perfect. Okay, and then calibration. Calibration, don't think it's got something similar. Maybe if you use the color balance module in a different way, like a little bit earlier, or replace color. Yeah. So one of the aspects to note of the program. So essentially, those are all the modules that we would normally have in Lightroom. I have now open in Pixelmator, so it just makes it a bit easier because I'm so used to that workflow, and then I'll play around with modules I find there, or interesting things in the program I come across. So let's go back to Pixelmator and start editing. Like I mentioned, it's got layer-based workflow. So what I like to do is I like to leave an unadjusted or unedited layer on the bottom. I'll double click on that and name that background. Then I'll duplicate that, Command G, that's the same as in Photoshop, and then I'll name that color edits or color edits or general edit, whatever you want. Then in Pixelmator, what I'll do is you have the different modules along the top here, like I mentioned. You can add shapes. You can there's free selection. There's your polygonal selection, same as you would have in Photoshop. Magnetic selection tool, quick selection, and a color range or color selection, which we'll use in a little bit. Then you have a gradient fill. You have a general fill. You have to, as you can see on the right, for that you have to first convert the layer or rasterize the layer. Healing tool or repair tool, clone tool, and then interestingly, I think is you have some tools that just for selective sharpening, so you can just brush over areas and then blur certain areas or soften, smudge, and what do we have there? Saturate. So if you want to saturate or desaturate, that would be the next one. And lighten and darken, so that would be like dodging and burning, which you can also do on a separate layer if you want. For all of them, you have to convert the layer into a regular image layer, so that's not a raw file, so it's slightly destructive. But if you keep it in a layer-based workflow, it's not that destructive because you can describe the layer. Anyway, so going back to the original purpose of this layer, color edits. So for this image, again, before I jump into that, reminding myself, as with every weekly edit, quickly going to talk about the vision for the edit. So the goal of the edit, so I know what I want to do in while I'm editing. I'm not just dragging sliders around and haphazardly editing the image. So for me, I captured this image. What caught my eye was the boat with the red boat in the front of frame, and including the foliage or the cactus and a bit of the grasses and the rocks in the foreground adds a bit of depth to the image, and then moving into the back, showing the boats and the ocean and then the land. I think it's more the southern part of Corfu in the distance there. Yeah, just to show like a bit more of a lifestyle or a Corfu. What do you say, Corfu? Yeah, what it's like there, and I like the way the boats are angled. It also leads the eye nicely through the frame, but so color, contrast, sharpen, etc. wise, all I want to do with this image is I want to bring out the colors a bit more, especially of the water. I want to bring out the red of the boat in the front a bit more, and lighten the shadows there a little bit, add a bit more, so it's a bit more legible, the detail in there. Maybe add a bit of crop a bit of the stuff in the front away, and just add a bit of general contrast and color adjustments on the rest of the image. I might get rid of those that orange and yellow boy as well. Yeah, so not a complicated edit. Just it's just important to have in mind what you want to do. I mean, I don't want to add a giant moon, giraffes and kangaroos and stuff. I just want to edit the image to enhance what I saw when I was there photographing it. So to my eye, it's a little bit cool, so I'm going to warm it up a tad with the white balance here. Now also the sliders in Pixelmator Pro they're quite sensitive and they're super responsive because of the integration with Apple native Apple system. So I'll drag it a bit far, so that's going to be a little bit warm. I like a little bit of coolness. I just want to, just a bit, okay, so let's deactivate that, see what it did. Great, just a little bit of extra warmth. Pixelmator also has machine learning or AI integrated. If you would like, you can machine learn, edit, or AI edit each or certain modules, or you can do the whole image, I think. Let's go to the top here. What's that? Remove it's got a remove background feature as well. Customize tools, color adjustments, match colors, use texture. The button's staring me in the face. Sorry, ML enhance, that'll do everything. So should we do that quickly? See what it does. Click on that. So there's basically edited the whole image for me. And then if we do before after, doesn't have a line. So that's before, that's after. Before, after. Not bad. Personally, I want to do a little bit more localized editing. So I'm going to undo that. So Command Z, keeps the white balance we did. With the tint, the touch of green. No. I'll click in there and press the up arrow. There we go, just 3% of magenta. Then exposure wise, I'm going to take it up slightly. And highlights I'm going to bring down. I'm going to do it too far, see what it does. Then the highlights in the sky get start to get a little bit muddy. I'm just going to bring it down ever so slightly. 18. Shadows, I'm going to open up. You can see underneath the red boat in the front. Open that up a little bit. Brightness, take that up as well. Histogram starting to go a bit to the right, but that's fine. Contrast, I'm going to add that in the tone curve. Actually, let's drag that up, see what it does. Not bad. I'm going to stick to the tone curve. Black point, so take that to the right. That's more, less. A little bit of black. Texture, no thank you. Clarity, I'm going to zoom into 100% quickly. And you can see the small sensor of the... Yeah, that's because we opened up the shadows a little bit. That's quite a noisy thing. Why would that be? Ah! That's grain automatically. No grain. Yeah, so even at 0 size intensity. Ah, there we go. So the grain was throwing me off. Sorry about that. Bit of a segue there. So, yeah, much better. So, not bad for a small 1-inch sensor size camera. Anyway, what was I doing? Clarity. So, let's drag that a bit far. That adds a little bit of clarity. Let's zoom out. Drag it a bit too far. So that's 5%. That's good. You can also add selective clarity. Let's see what that does. So in the shadows, let's go texture. Zoom out. Actually, yeah, it's actually quite nice. That'll move clarity to the shadows. All good. Hue and saturation. So that would be for overall. So for this, I'm going to add a bit of vibrance. Drag it up too far, see what that does. I like what it's doing in the front here. Adding a bit more saturated greens to the cactus, and yellows and oranges to the stems of grass. Let's deactivate that, see what it does. Yeah, so it's mostly affecting that this front foreground. Okay, so selective color. Here I'm going to see. Actually, I'm going to do that in a different layer in a little bit. This is just going to be sort of general edits. So we'll do selective edits a little bit in a bit. Color balance or color grading, as we would say in Lightroom. Let's add. So here you can also control brightness and darkness of the highlights, midtones, and shadows, as well as saturation. So let's just take up. That's a midtone saturation down. It's also like. I like that actually, so add a little bit. Then highlights, we're going to add a little bit of warmth. Don't do that too much. You see at the top there, so just a tad and a bit of coolness to the shadows. Bit aggressively, balance the highlights out. Perfect, looking good. Levels, it's not something we have in Lightroom, so I'm going to leave that alone, but if you want, you can play around with that. So with the tone curve, you have your different color channel options and RGB and luminous. I'm going to select luminous so as not to affect any colors adversely. So here's when I'm going to add my contrast as mentioned. So I'm going to stick really to the dark portions and then to the light portions. So there we go. So let's see. Just a little bit of a contrast, pop of contrast. I'm going to raise. So obviously, like in Lightroom, with the tone curve, you can raise the black point, but for that black faded look in the deep blacks. I'm going to leave that like that because Pixelmator Pro has a fade module, so you can do blacks and whites. So now blacks are down to 0, so let's take that up, see what it does. Very subtle effect, you can just see it happening over there. So let's zoom in. There we go. So if you like that, you can either do it in tone curve or you can play around with the fade module. Let's see what happens if we take both up to 100% maybe. It's a very subtle effect, even at 100%. So whites I'm going to take down, not interested. Blacks I'm going to take up just a tad. Black and white, we can do it in a moment. Color monochrome is like, I think it's like LUTs almost. So you can add a different color that overall in the image, and you can control the intensity. Yeah, it's almost like a color filter. There we go. Channel mixer. Get to later. Ah, sorry, there we actually have a LUT module. My bad. The nice thing is when you do hover over them, they instantly apply. And you can see I'm going through them quite quickly, and they are adapting. And when you select one, you can adjust intensity as well. Not for this image though. Okay, so vignette. Before we add a vignette, actually, let's go quickly to the crop module. So here I can custom size. I want to keep it as the original. And then I'm just going to take this up from the bottom a little bit. And you see the boat there in the foreground is now on the bottom lower third, according to the rule of thirds. I'm going to move this a little bit to a little bit to the right, just like that. And then we are going to apply. Let's just go back to the crop module quickly. And then let's just see, oh no, undo that. The horizon looks pretty straight to me. I'm not seeing anything. Let's just change the grid. So it's slightly off, so just like that. There we go. And we can go apply. Great. Now we can go back to the vignette. The bottom here. Where were we? There we go. So I'm going to do it. That's counterintuitive. Put it to the left and the exposure goes up. Okay, so probably so adding more vignette to the right. That's probably why it makes sense. So I'm going to do it too much. And I'm going to take the softness down so I can see where it is. You can also fade that out a little bit. Okay, so you can't bring it in. Can't bring it in. So black point, I'm going to fade ever so slightly. Softness I'm going to take back up to 100%. And then, sorry, exposure I'm just going to take down just a tad. Sorry, there we go. Just focuses the attention a bit more on the center part of the image, which is what we want. Sharpen. The raw rendering or raw file decoding is actually quite good. I don't want to add much sharpening, but if we activate that, it's going to add some default sharpening. So let's have a look. It's quite aggressive. So let's take that down. I like to do small radius, higher amount or intensity in this case. So radius 0.5. So it just adds a touch of sharpness. Intensity. Let's take the intensity up a little bit more to maybe 75. See what that does. So that's adding an overall sharpening effect, which I'm not too concerned about because the image starts to fade out to the top anyway, and I don't want to prolong this edit too much by doing selective sharpening, etc., etc. We're going to do 1 or 2 selective edits shortly. Okay, so now we are down at the bottom of the editing panels, like we would be in Lightroom. Work our way from top to bottom. This image in Lightroom is looking very cool, in my opinion. Interesting how one's editing preference changes over time. Anyway, so now I mentioned we're going to do some, or I'd like to do some selective edits. So I am going to duplicate this layer again. So Command G. I'm going to make this Selective Edits. let's just deactivate that quickly. And so now because we can either use before or after. So that was the original image, that was the edits, or we can deactivate the layer. Because we have a layer-based workflow, so you can do it like that as well. So, and then what's nice, if we do want to combine the two, we can actually decrease the opacity of the top layer. You can also see how, so it's not a massive edit, just bringing out the elements that were already in the scene. So selective edits, as I mentioned. So what I want to do here is I want to enhance the red color in the boat, which means we're going to go along the top here and go to color selection and add, subtract. So it's really going to sample all layers, smooth edges. And what you do in Pixelmator is you click and then you drag out. So click, you would see it select a small portion, and then as you drag, it increases the range automatically. So I want it to be about there. See, if you drag too far, it's going to start selecting everything. So just the most prominent reds there. Great. Then I am going to, or it might actually automatically create a layer for me now. So what I want to do now with this selection is do, excuse me, do color edit. So I'm going to press on the color adjustment. To selectively edit colors, yeah, so create a layer. Okay, yeah, so I didn't actually need to create that layer. Let's delete that one. So then it creates a color adjustment layer with the mask from the selection applied. You can, when you click on the mask, you can do some things with it. You can paint in, paint out. What I like here is you can change the opacity, softness, and you can also change the feather of the layer. So I'd like to take it up just to see very sensitive sliders. So I'm just going to take it up to 1 pixel just to enhance the improve the blend of the layer. Click done. Now if we have a look on the boat here, I am going to take the shadows up a little bit. Say I'm actually going to go down to the tone curve. I'm going to click in the middle, take that up. More. And now if we deactivate that layer, you can see the difference that is made. What else do I want to do there? Maybe add a bit of vibrance, which we are going to find under place color, no? Color balance. Level screws, where was that? Gray and sharpen vignette, but anyway, let's do that via selective color then. Ah, there we go, sorry. Giraffe. So take that bright. So I'm going to take the vibrance up a little bit, and then in selective color under right, take up the brightness. You can see it adds just another bit of brightness there. Okay, so let's see what that did. Great. So that brings out the red in the boat a bit more. And then, like I mentioned, might get rid of those two boys lastly for the color edit. So I am going to duplicate that layer. Drag it to the top. Okay, so let's quickly see. Sorry. Okay, let's delete that. Let's just see if it works on the color adjustment layer. Quick test. Okay, so it actually creates another image layer for us. Interesting. So we can do that. Shall we do that? Time-wise, let's stick to that. So, Command 1, bring it up to full size. So that was sort of just a quick dab with the repair tool, and already I don't even know where the boy was. Oh, there we go. Great, so let's just see. Perfect, done. Yeah, sometimes I don't know if the boys help to lead the eye to the image or whether they're a bit more of a distraction. Maybe we'll leave them erased. Okay, well, in terms of the color edit, I think that's pretty good. I'm going to leave it there. If we look at a quick before after, quickly go back to the hand tool, top layer, or to color edit, boom. Okay, so let's just do it the old-fashioned way. Hold Option, click on the bottom layer. So that was the original image, and that was the edit. Yeah, great. Nothing more I want to do there. I think it's a beautiful scene in the first place. Didn't need a lot of help to look better. Just basic edits to get it from a raw file to a presentable JPEG version. Yeah. As always, thanks for sticking with me, and if you want, stick around for the black and white edit. Let's go. Okay, so this is the first time I'm doing a black and white conversion in Pixelmator, so let's quickly see what we're going to do here. I am going to go to the top layer. That's a mask, so that's just going to be for that. So I'll show you live how I troubleshoot things quickly. Let's just do that. So that was my troubleshoot there quickly. And then what I'll do is I'll go Pixelmator, combine layers maybe. Just drag that into view. To merge two or more layers, to select the layers you'd like to merge, then choose arrange merge. Okay, so let's do that then. Okay, so then I'm going to select all layers. I'm going to duplicate all of them, and I'll show you now why, all of them. And then I will, with them still selected, I'll right click and I will say merge. So now we have a whole, that's if we combine the bottom ones into groups, so Command G, we'll rename the group color edit. And if we make that invisible, so that's the whole, basically all layers combined into one image, which means we can now do a black and white conversion on all edits that we've done. So again, there are two ways to do a black and white conversion. Well, there are many ways actually, but in Pixelmator, they've got a black and white module, like I used in On1 and in Capture One, etc., or in Lightroom, or you can go up to hue saturation and just desaturate the image and then proceed to adjust contrast, etc., etc. But for the interest of learning the program a bit better, let's go to the black and white module. Black and white. So let's activate that. Now you can adjust the individual color channels and the intensity. So what's the tone? Okay, that lightens the bottom part around here a little bit. Say green. So green increases a little bit black and white contrast, like adding the green filter we spoke about last week. The red channel is not, do the red, so we're going to lighten them a little bit. And then blue is going to be the water. Take it left a little bit more infrared. Okay. Let's just actually duplicate that again. I'm going to go merge. Yeah, okay, so, and then on this layer I'm just going to activate the black and white. So that's just the default black and white conversion, and then with our edits, so it's just light in the foreground a little bit and in the boat. I'm not actually too thrilled with that, so I'm going to deactivate the black and white module. I am going to go up to saturation, desaturate, and then I am going to go to the tone curve, add a nice bit of contrast in the shadows, nice bit of contrast in the highlights. where did it go? Turn curve, curves, there we go. So that's definitely much better. And now because we have a default black and white version below, with the layer-based workflow, I can actually decrease the opacity if I think I went a little bit farther. Just like that. Okay. And in terms of that, let's just quickly go back to the color edit. Yeah, I mean, in terms of black and white, there's not much more we can do there. Maybe increase the vignette a little bit. Add a nice, more of a vignette, which I might actually do. No, nothing time-wise. It's been long enough, so I like a little bit of a vignette. So quite a strong vignette there already. I'll take it back ever so slightly. I think, yeah, in terms of black and white edit, that's good. Yeah, I mean, if you want, you can play around a bit more, but I think let's leave it there. So, as always, thanks for sticking with me. I think I was talking quite fast there, but the time just tends to run away. But I hope you enjoyed this brief overview and whistle-stop tour of Pixelmator Pro. Let me know what you think. Any questions or comments, drop them down below in the comments. And if there's anything specifically you would like to see, let me know as well. Yeah. See you in the next edit.